Go live.
Go live.
And we're live. And now the bass is dropped. It took a while. Spreaker didn't want the bass to drop. Twitch, you got a pre-show for like 5 minutes of me trying not to throw things and trying not to get too angry and drop all kinds of 4-letter words. But I didn't do it. John says he's going to drink Mountain Dew for the rest of the day, and it's a crazy Friday already. Welcome.
Your Peter Vermes impression was almost shown to the folks on Twitch.
No, it wasn't. I'm not quite that
vociferous.
No, I'm vociferous. I'm not quite that dependent on a letter that or a word that starts with F in a variety of ways. I have other
adjective, adverb.
Yeah, I'll mix other things into it. But yes, and good morning, everybody on Twitch. Good morning, everybody listening on the app. Good morning, everybody listening on the website and anywhere else you're listening live. And good morning or good afternoon or good evening to everybody listening on the podcast edition. It's Soccer Down Here. It's a Friday. It's July 31st. We're taking your questions, your comments. I mean, it's kind of a freestyle Friday, so whatever's on your mind. Lots of different stuff. John's making weird hand signals again, and it always throws me off and it kind of worries me.
It's a freestyle Friday. Freestyle.
Okay. I got nothing. That's really bad. Anyway, okay. We've got stuff. We got an update on FIFA for you. Somebody who would absolutely know what's going on at FIFA has things to say about it, and they're not really all that surprising. So we'll get into that. We'll get into Philadelphia and Kansas City to start things off, but we've got some other news from around the world as well. John is wearing his Aberdeen jersey because they are playing tomorrow. The Scottish Premiership is back tomorrow. You can watch that one on Red TV here in the United States as they play their wonderful friends Rangers.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Uh-huh.
Chris Ashley says it's a no Mingo Friday.
Yeah.
I'm supportive for this. Yes, I get it.
Subtle plug since Chris Ashley has surfaced this morning. Greenville Triumph Weekly is up on the network right now, as is our Charleston Battery Weekly. Greenville getting ready to go into the no Mingo zone. A rather nice-looking motor coach as they're getting ready. So Greenville and Forward Madison is tonight in League One.
Well, I don't think the motor coach is taking them all the way to Madison, Wisconsin, John.
No, took him to the airport.
Yeah. That's all.
Good-looking motor coach.
Yes, it is. And that was not a subtle plug-in anyway. I think you need to look up the word subtle just to be safe. Okay.
Subtle.
Yeah, it'll take you 20 minutes. Okay. Philadelphia, Kansas City. I picked Kansas City to win the thing initially, and they were pretty good in the tournament. They weren't good enough to beat Philadelphia, who could be one of the most impressive teams in the tournament. I didn't really understand the conversation going into yesterday with the, they haven't been that good. They've been, Philly's been good. And Philly's got a good plan to play that suits their group. And I think it's still coming together, to be perfectly honest. I think Jose Martinez is the fit for them to make the jump to the next level. Harris Medunjanin was very good in possession, and they've had to adjust to that. But defensively, he was a liability. That meant Jamiro Bedoya, sorry if I could speak this morning, they had to drop deeper to cover for Medunjanin. Now they don't, because Martinez is a beast defensively. He's everywhere, and he'll kick you very hard if you come into his zone, and that can be effective, as we're seeing. What that does is it frees up Bedoya to do what he did on the first goal. Starts to play in the middle third, continues his run, delivers the assist. Those are the things that were not really too possible last year. Also, you have a player in Brendan Aronson who is coming into his own. You have a player in Sergio Santos who is starting to fit this team better. you've got substitutions that can really change the way you play. Now with 5 substitutions, Jim Curtin's got a lot more to work with. This is a really dangerous team, and I think right now they are the top of the power rankings in the Eastern Conference. I think they are the favorite in the Eastern Conference based off what we've seen in this tournament. Now, that is also assuming they don't have anybody get sold for a good chunk of change in this upcoming window, which is possible, with scouts circling Brendan Aronson, maybe Mark McKenzie. That's going to be tough because you're going to have to make a decision here. And in the case of Aronson, you do have Anthony Fontana who can step into that role. He's not Brendan Aronson. He's like Aronson, maybe a year younger in terms of where he is to impact the team right now. He needs more experience. But you've got to make that sale if it's the right time, because that proves your concept, that delivers money for all the investment you've made to develop players. Right now, Philadelphia is the best team in the East. Right now. They might not be by the time we restart, depending on what happens with Aronson and maybe McKenzie. But right now, they're the best team in the East and maybe the best team in this tournament.
So then let me ask you this, as I dropped my pen for this first time this morning. Why do you think when it comes to the daily line, when it comes to these matches, that they're consistently as disrespected? I mean, we make a bit of a joke of it on the show because the line is so large. Why do you think then they're being so disrespected when it comes to those numbers going into these matches if we've seen what we've seen from Philly so far in the tournament?
Have you read anything about Philadelphia?
Define read.
It's what when people write words,
Yes.
those things where they talk about games and they talk about teams. Have you read what people write about Philadelphia?
No.
Well, I mean, you should, because that's kind of what we do. But nobody gives Philadelphia much credit. So the odds makers aren't either. The whole thing reading into it is like, well, they're still a work in progress. Well, they didn't really create a whole lot of chances. Well, no, I mean, they didn't create a whole lot of chances coming into this. That's true. But you can say stop. But that's what everybody's writing. So, of course, they're going to be the underdog. They should have been the underdog last night. Sporting Kansas City was the favorite coming into that game. They were in my book. They were, I think, for most people. But other games, I don't know why they were the underdog. I'll be very curious to see this next one, depending on who they face, either New York City or Portland, how they are rated in this. I'll be very curious to see how people look at Philadelphia in that game. But no, nobody gives Philadelphia respect. That's a fact. So the odds makers aren't either. Also, to understand the way odds makers create their lines, they are assessing favorites and underdogs, but they are also trying to move action as well. And sometimes where there's not much action on somebody. What's that?
They need to make a profit too.
It's not about the profit as much as just creating dollars coming in to begin with. And it's about creating a line that's enticing. And if people aren't betting on Philadelphia, which, look, it's a team that needs more attention. But if people aren't believing in them, and if you read what people are saying, then a lot of people aren't believing in them, and you're trying to entice action, you're going to kick those numbers up a little bit more. If all the money's on the other side of it, you're going to kick the numbers up so the money comes to Philadelphia. It's how odds makers work. It's how Vegas works and all the rest of them. So Philadelphia is a much better team than I thought they would be coming into this tournament. They have shown it. It's time to stop with the nonsense. They're the number one team in the Eastern Conference as we speak right now.
I look at a guy like, and you mentioned Jose Martinez, and for me, Martinez is the guy that's right up against that line when it comes to whether or not he's going to get a card or whether or not he's playing right on that edge. And there are times in matches where his engine will run a little warm. And last night he got the yellow card in the 25th minute. And I was a little concerned that, that he might be taken advantage of for the remainder of the match. But I give him a boatload of credit for sticking to his game for the remainder of the match. Yes, I know Philadelphia had a lead and could, and give themselves a little space. But for me, a guy like Jose Martinez, I really appreciate his play. I appreciate the fact that he goes right up against that edge every single time because he's very, very physical in the times that I've seen. He'll go in there and he'll go after you. But he's right there, and I really like what he does when he doesn't get too overly emotional, which I've seen occasionally and gotten in folks' faces and things like that when he's on a yellow card.
I haven't seen him get too emotional in situations. He's never felt out of control. He knows what he's doing. He is Diego Chara. He is Osvaldo Alonso in this league. He walks that line. He's Roy Keane. He's Gennaro Gattuso. He's that kind of a presence. And he affects the way teams play because, they don't want to get kicked. They know they're going into a dangerous zone when he's there, and he will take as much leeway as the referee gives him. But I haven't worried about him going over that line too much. Now, where I'll be curious is once you start to get conversation going around a team, around a player, will we see referees go harder on him on the initial foul? Because he's had some that have been borderline yellow-red on the first foul. Will we see referees start to come down harder on him once more people pay attention to him? We'll have to wait and see on that as the season goes. Michael Ruiz says, are the Union ever going to get respect from Vegas or national pundits? What do they have to do to get some respect? Win this thing. just win the thing, and they absolutely could. I'm sorry. I think Philadelphia has been much more impressive in this tournament than LAFC. And I know everybody loves LAFC, and I know there's always a defense of LAFC whenever something goes wrong. I get it. They have a great attacking team. I don't think they're good enough defensively. I don't think they're good enough defensively to stop Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia is going to be afraid of LAFC's press. Philadelphia went in week 2 out to Bank of California and got a 3-3 draw. I think Philadelphia is much better now than they were then, and I don't know if LAFC is. I don't think their defense has improved. So I think Philadelphia is the favorite in this right now. Portland and New York City, I favor Portland in that. I think they're a little more battle-tested in these moments. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think Portland will find a way. I think Orlando is going to give LAFC a tough game. LAFC should have enough to get through. It's all going to come down to if Orlando can play through LAFC's pressure. And that's going to be tough for them because they're still figuring their stuff out. Now, they've committed to playing that way. They've committed so far to building out of the back and playing in the way that Oscar Pereja wants to play. Now, I wonder if you come into this one and you say, look, I don't know if we can do that. We're not going to risk it. Let's play direct. Let's bomb it over the top. Let Tesho Akindele run with LAFC center backs. Let's at least do that early and see if LAFC changes their style up. Pereja's a guy who might do that. But if it becomes, can Orlando build up against LAFC's press, I favor LAFC in that in the long term until Orlando proves us otherwise. And in the other one, San Jose and Minnesota, I think it's a gunfight. Minnesota has generally had the better of San Jose with Adrian Heath against Matias Almeida. Are they going to do it again here? I think San Jose is really feeling good about themselves. They're feeling good about this tournament. They were the first team there, and they want to be the last one to leave. I think they're going to get it done against Minnesota this time. Minnesota's got some injuries. Minnesota's not quite 100% here. I think San Jose will get it done. So then what does that set up for us in the semis? That would set up San Jose and LAFC, according to the way I'm picking it out, and Philadelphia and Portland. I think it'll be a Philly-LAFC final. And I think Philadelphia is the team I would put the money on. That's just me. But if they win the tournament, Michael, then, yeah, I think they finally get that respect. But until then, I don't know if they ever do, and I think there'll be all kinds of excuses if they don't. Domer wants Philadelphia and San Jose, and I would be totally on board with that. That'd be a fun one to see. San Jose is just a fun team to watch, but San Jose's got a couple of teams in their way to get to the final. It's going to be difficult for them because it's two teams that have historically given them some serious problems in Minnesota and LAFC. So if they get past Minnesota and somehow Orlando knocks off LAFC, then I'll put San Jose in that final. But I'm not expecting that at this stage. I think San Jose, Minnesota will be a blast, but I think San Jose will find a way there. I think LAFC will beat them in the semi.
Yeah, I'm right now, because of what I've seen with the defense of Minnesota, I'm looking at Minnesota going up against San Jose. I think LAFC, Orlando plus 300 according to BetMGM right now.
Feels about right.
LAFC. So I've got to go with LAFC there. Yeah, I could see LAFC. I would be admittedly torn if it's a Minnesota LAFC semifinal on the right hand side. And for me, I'm looking at Portland over NYCFC, and then Philadelphia and Portland. That'll be fun for me for a different reason, because I'm going to like to see the defensive gymnastics, and I want to see the grittiness of what I'm anticipating in that particular match. But I think that Philadelphia makes their way through. So I'm with you. I'm leaning toward Philadelphia and LAFC in the final.
Adam from 816, Sporting giving up 2 goals of their own, off their own set pieces is bad, and it is. The first one was a little bizarre, the second goal of the night, where I can't remember which Sporting player it was, just waiting for the ball to come down to them, and Raymond Gaddis just steps in front, heads it away. It was the craziest thing. I'm like, why is he just standing there? Gaddis just steps up and jumps in front of him, wins the header, and boom, they're off. It's just strange. And Vermes, ripped his team as he should. They were awful at the start. Just awful. And I thought when they got that goal at halftime, maybe that'll give them a lifeline. The offside call was correct because Johnny Russell was offside when the shot was taken. It did come off of the opponent. They did intentionally play it. Doesn't matter. He was offside when the shot was taken. So that was correct. If they'd gotten one early in the second half, maybe it's a different conversation. But we talked about it with Atlanta. You can't have bad starts. You just cannot have bad starts in these kinds of games, especially in knockout games, and you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Katie Weaver says, felt Martinez not only a bruiser, but important in possession. He is. He's different. So you take Harris Medunjanin, who was that position last year for them, and you compare him to Jose Martinez. Medunjanin, poor defensively, great in possession. I think Martinez is very good defensively, and he has a big presence, and he's good in possession. He's not Medunjanin in possession, and that's okay. You don't need him to be because you're getting so much more defensively. It's like you see teams in shape and formation and all that, it becomes this huge thing. But if you play in the same shape, same formation, with a lot of the same players, but you make a tweak here, you change this player, or you change this player. Sometimes you change the personality of the group. And I think this midfield is different with Martinez. I think it's better because Bedoya and Montero don't have to have in the back of their mind, I got to protect Medunjanin, I got to sit deeper. He can't cover the ground. I got to hang back. Now they know they've got somebody who can cover the ground. So they can go and they can take more chances and they can add another player or 2 more players to the attack. It becomes more dangerous. Sometimes it's just one change. And, if you want to compare Harris Medunjanin to Jose Martinez, some people might say Medunjanin's a better player in a lot of phases of play. Martinez is a better fit for that midfield because it frees up Bedoya and Montero to be even better. Okay. Kefsey says, Ilsinho better than Alan Gordon for super sub.
Ooh.
I don't think he is yet. He's getting close. I don't like him as much in the 4-4-2, although he was fine last night when he came in because they didn't really change the shape. When they changed the shape, and this is what happened with them against Atlanta. Bedoya was injured coming into that. He was not 100%. That hurt them. They started Ilsinho. I believe Sergio Santos was injured as well last year. So they started Ilsinho, or they didn't start Ilsinho, sorry. They started in the 4-4-2, and then when they brought in Ilsinho to try to chase the game, they went to the 4-2-3-1. I thought they were causing Atlanta more problems in the 4-4-2. It was more of a 50-50 game at that point. When it went to the 4-2-3-1, Atlanta's midfield dominated possession. It wasn't 4v3 in Philadelphia's favor as much. It was more 3v3, and Atlanta, had players who could handle that and keep possession and start to just wear Philly down. Ilsinho didn't really have an effect. Alan Gordon didn't need a lot of touches to be dangerous. Late in games where you're chasing it, just bomb it up, let that guy go find it. He was a much better player than he got credit for, too. He could play with his feet. He could set up others. Gordon's still the best super sub in league history, but Ilsinho's getting close. Getting very close. Michael Reeves, another question. This is a good one. If Mark McKenzie's getting linked to Celtic, Brendan Aaronson's getting linked to Celtic as well. Where are the Miles Robinson rumors? I don't know. It's a really good question because haven't heard anything. I mean, maybe we were starting to hear just a little bit of whispers last fall, but haven't heard anything. And yeah, I'm surprised. I think Miles is destined to play in Europe. I think he's that good. It's just going to be down to the right club coming in for him and what the numbers look like. But yeah, he's got that ability. If McKenzie's getting it, Miles should get it too.
Yeah, and I'm going back into the Google machine trying to figure out when the last time that Miles Robinson was mentioned in any kind of transfer rumors, and the last thing that's noticed is Halloween from last year, and that's just in a chat room. So, I mean, it's you sit there and you shrug your shoulders and you're going, where are these rumors? And they do not exist and have not existed for quite some time.
Chris Ashley's power rankings in the tournament. He's not going out on a limb here between Portland and Philly. It's 1A and 1B. I'd have Philly 1 and Portland 2. He says Orlando's look better than LAFC as well. He's got LAFC 4th. He does think LAFC can beat Orlando, and I agree. But, yeah, I don't think it's a gimme either. I'm just curious to see what Pareja does tonight. If he decides early on, and this is where these hydration breaks can be really interesting in how managers use them. You know, a thought of how you could approach this. You know, you don't want LAFC's press to affect you. You want to be smart in a game like this. You don't have extra time, but you do want to extend it as long as you can. You don't want to get beat early. You don't want to give up that early goal. First 30 minutes before the hydration break, don't try to play out of the back. Play direct. Play direct down the flanks. Try to play Mueller in behind. Try to play Akindele in behind. Nani, you want him to pick up the second ball and run at people. Just play direct. 30 minutes. Just till the hydration break, play direct. Don't try to play through pressure. And then you can assess. And you can say, okay, last 15, hey, we've grown into the game. LAFC's getting frustrated. All right, if it's on, play. If it's not, keep going long. I would also, and typically it's Nani on the left side and Mueller on the right. I would switch them a good bit during this match because you want to create different opportunities here. I'd start with it like that because if Palacios, the left back for LAFC, if he steps up high like he likes to do, play it over his head, let Mueller run. Cool, that gives you an option and a way out. The other side, Tristan Blackman versus Nani, you like your chances in a 1v1 where you can find Nani. If you go long, Akindele knocks it down, then play Nani, create the 1v1 opportunity. You also want to try to get Akindele isolated with Dejan Jakovic as much as possible because I think he's the weak link in that back line. So Orlando's got ways to hurt LAFC for sure. And I would just keep it simple and not risk anything in the first 30 minutes. Frustrate LAFC. You don't have to be a bunker team to frustrate LAFC. And I don't think that's really the best way to deal with them. Be a direct team. They want to step up high and press. Okay. Let them step up high and then bomb it over the top of them. Now, you've got to draw them in a little bit, and you got to balance that. But, yeah, look for those opportunities over the top. Put that back line under pressure. Christopher Abel with a question. Would you rather see Atlanta trade Joseph Martinez for Tom Dwyer or hire Jurgen Klinsmann as their new manager?
No.
Wow, Chris.
No.
That's just mean all the way around.
No.
Can I go neither, please? Please let me go neither.
Choice D, none of the above.
I mean, wow. If I had to pick one?
No, I'm putting that question to the side, and I'm burning the piece of paper and putting it in the trash. I'm not choosing that one.
No, if I had to pick one, I'm taking Klinsmann as manager because I'd rather have more talent on the field. Sometimes you can win even if you have a lesser manager. I think the U.S. showed that at times under Klinsmann. So that's an easy decision, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And Chris, San Jose is not going to fire Matias Almeida no matter what he does. If Minnesota beats San Jose, he's not getting fired, and I don't think he's coming to Atlanta. We can end that discussion. unless Atlanta somehow can make an offer that San Jose and Almeida can't refuse, I don't think it's the kind of job that appeals to him as much. He likes the underdog. He likes the project. He likes to build something, and San Jose is absolutely that. Here, he'd be expected to win every time. I think he'd be great. I love him as a manager, absolutely, but San Jose is not firing him over this tournament. They're already playing with house money, and I don't think they're firing him, period. I think he's going to have offers in places that might pull him away, but I don't think San Jose is ever going to just push him out the door.
Rich Ransom's in this morning.
What's up, Rich?
He says, I'm more happy the Union got over the hump. That was SKC, who they sometimes couldn't win against. Can't be too excited yet. The team sometimes falls at the end, but the ride has been great. P.S. I remember at Longshoe saying where the goals were coming from, in all caps. Well, how about now?
No, hey, Rich, I've been back in Philly more than you think, so hold on there, buddy. They have needed to get the goals coming from somebody. Shabilko hasn't been great up top. They haven't created a ton of chances. That's been the issue. I think they've played really well. I love the way they play. I think it suits them. It just needed to continue to develop. They got a little help from Kansas City stinking it up last night. No, let's be fair, but no, you should be excited. And you should be excited and feel good about them playing NYC or Portland. Either one. I think Philly's the favorite against either one there. I do not think Philly's an underdog against either one of those teams. I don't think Philly's an underdog against anybody left in the tournament except for LAFC. And even that, I'm much more 50-50 on it, but I know they'll be the underdog because everybody's an underdog against LAFC. It's just how it is.
Yeah, and you were mentioning the matchup with Orlando and LAFC, and as you were laying things out on the back line, the name that I wrote down on my piece of paper here as I'm taking notes so I don't lose my place,
Mm-hmm.
I'll show it to the folks on Twitch.
What?
Yakovic, circled.
Okay. I could actually read that time. Your handwriting's usually worse. That was okay.
That's what happens when you don't have. I guess it is the less caffeine in my system, the more legible I write.
Maybe.
So yeah, I had Blackman and Yakovic right there on Twitch, and Yakovic circled, and if I could have underlined and exclamated in time as you were making the point, that's like, to me, that's like go after Dejan Yakovic, go. That was my number one target for Orlando to try to find weaknesses in that LA backline.
Who's a more complete team, asking from Shiva, Philadelphia or LAFC?
Philadelphia. Because the reason
you might be one of the only people in the country who says that.
And I say that because of the defensive effort that we see from Philadelphia that we don't see from LAFC. I think that LAFC is more susceptible defensively, but a lot of folks are drawn to their offense and the sheer numbers that they put out there. I think they can be had. I mean, Houston had a 3-1 lead on them, but then I ran out of gas and ended up with a 3-3 draw. So for me, I look at Philadelphia as being more complete, LAFC being more offensive-minded, and so that's why I have Philadelphia as more balanced than LAFC.
Balanced and complete are close. They're not quite the same. I do think Philadelphia is more balanced, for sure. I can buy the argument they're more complete, and the reasons why. John said defense. I'm with him on that. Goalkeeper as well. I trust Andre Blake over anybody LAFC has to play in goal.
Yep.
LAFC is far more explosive, and sometimes that's all you need. But Philadelphia is definitely more balanced. There's no question about that. Midfield, which is Philadelphia's strength, LAFC's really good there too. I think Philly's got a better back line and a much better goalkeeper. And you match them up, it just comes down because I think LAFC has a much better attack. Which one wins? Better attack versus better defense and goalkeeper? It's going to depend on the day. But, yeah, I think Philadelphia overall has a more balanced grade. LAFC is A+ in the attack and maybe an A or to A+ in the midfield, and the defense and the goalkeeper much further down. But they play a style that allows them to hide that a lot of times.
Yes, exactly.
So Philadelphia has to exploit that to take advantage. But, yeah, on paper, just complete and balance. I think I could go Philadelphia right now. I could go there because LAFC just scares me defensively, and I don't think they've solved their goalkeeper issue.
Yeah, and you mentioned keeper. I mean, doesn't matter if it's Vermeer or Cisniega, Bob Bradley doesn't seem to have settled on one guy.
Well, he hasn't because neither one's done good enough to settle on. Like, that's
Right.
not about Bob Bradley pulling him, breaking out the hook from Showtime at the Apollo. It's just because neither one's done enough to win the job.
Right.
That has nothing to do with Bradley. It has to do with the guys who are there. I mean, you got to go get a better goalkeeper for that team, period.
Yes. And so that's why I viewed it. You compare defense, the back lines, Philadelphia, edge. Keeping, Philadelphia, edge. Then, firepower, you said A+ A for LAFC, and I can go there, but I look at Philly as being more balanced than LAFC.
Captain Ragamuffin says that surprised that they're still playing games. Soccer didn't exist before Atlanta, and it ceases to exist when Atlanta stops playing. I thought that was Seattle. I think everybody got mad because there was somebody that was getting the Seattle effect, and it was Atlanta, so everybody shifted. Both are out, so yeah, they should probably just cancel the whole tournament. I agree. Walchara, Vermees was getting pressure from Twellman and others to play Busio, but Busio still doesn't look ready. Aronson, though, wow. Busio didn't deliver last night. It's been inconsistent. I think he's a great player. I think he has great potential. He needs to play. If it's not in Kansas City, they need to loan him out somewhere. He needs to play. He doesn't need to stagnate. But if he's not good enough to play and make Sporting Kansas City better, then they got to make a decision. And this is something that in the U.S. it's always been a weird thing, and it shouldn't be anymore because you have second division teams that are of quality. You could loan him to another team in your league if you wanted to as well because of his age. That's something that teams have been really reluctant to do with anybody that they take seriously. I don't know why. Look in England. Look at loaning guys out. Who's your boy at Swansea from Liverpool?
Oh,
Brewster.
Ryan Brewster.
Yes. Liverpool didn't have a spot for him, but they don't want him to sit on the bench and not play or play in reserve games. They loan him out to a team in a lower division, but a competitive team. Look at goalkeepers are a little different, but look at Dean Henderson from Manchester United. Mm-hmm. You loan him out. You play him. David Beckham spent time with Preston North End. It was a month, but it was critical. Loan guys out if they're not ready for your team. Sporting Kansas City is a team that's trying to win a title. I think they're good enough to win MLS Cup. If Busio's not good enough to play right now, get him somewhere where he can play. Yeah. Do it in this window. And you don't have to sell him yet. If you feel like he's not ready yet, he's not there yet, is there a USL team with a manager that you think would be the fit? Because I don't think it's Sporting 2, former Swope Park Rangers, because that doesn't necessarily solve it. That means you're in the reserve team of your club. He needs to go elsewhere. Loan him to a team in Scotland. Loan him to a team in England. Loan him. You don't have to just sell him and take less money if you think you can loan him, have him play somewhere for a year, bring him back to you, or sell him at the end of that. You're going to get more money if he develops further.
Yep.
But he's got to play to develop. And if you don't think playing with you is what suits your team, loan him out. But don't be afraid to loan. Loaning is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, he wasn't good enough last night. Flat out. And you've got to be better. Brendan Aronson has stepped up. You're going to keep playing him because he's been great. You're not worried about loaning him right now. You're worried about when you're going to sell him. Is it going to come up in this upcoming window, or is it going to come up after the season? You're going to have offers. I think you're going to have offers when this tournament's over. And you're going to have some tough decisions to make. For sure. For sure.
I mean, think of just the recent example of loaning someone out. Atlanta United fans have been following Andrew Carlton and what he's doing at Indy 11. And I mean, this is just a very recent sample size, but I'm saying that when you have what we've seen from Andrew 2 matches ago against St. Louis, where he's under Martin Rennie and you can learn in a situation like that, it's those kind of situations that can benefit a player like a Busio.
Yeah, don't blow the St. Louis game out of proportion. He played well. He played very free. It was good to see. I was very happy to see him playing with that much swagger and that much impact. It was good. Not about a good game for Andrew Carlton. We know what he can do in individual matches. We saw it with Atlanta United 2 down the stretch last year. He was great. It's consistency. It's doing what he did last year at the end of the season for Atlanta United 2, game in, game out, game in, game out. Not having a 9 out of 10 performance followed by 2 4s and then another 9. You want 6s and 7s mixed in with some 9s. You've got to have that baseline be up. You got to play to get there. Now, Carlton's in a different situation than Busio completely because Busio has broken through further into the first team. But he might not be the guy to take them to win a title right now. Okay, don't have him sit the bench and stagnate, loan him. Carlton's trying to break into the first team. So Indy 11 is a better move for him than playing with Atlanta United 2 this season because he's elsewhere. He's got more pressure on him. You need that. But Busio's in a different spot. Is there another MLS team you'd want to loan him to? Because you got to think about where you're loaning him, and it depends on what your long term is. If you think, I want to bring him back, so I want him to be better, but I need to loan him somewhere where he's going to play in a similar type of spot that he would do what he would do with me, okay, that limits who you're going to loan him to. If you're thinking, we might just sell him at the end of the loan, we've got other options, and we might just bring back that return, loan him to the best club you can, and give them an option to buy, and if it doesn't work there, then you'll sell him elsewhere. You got to figure that out, but you've got to be strategic using your loan options, and I think Busio is kind of in that spot where you might be better off loaning him than having him sit and get frustrated and not play. If he's not ready, and he didn't look ready last night, have him go somewhere where he can play and get ready. Domer, talking about Miles Robinson, says, Chelsea need a competent center back.
Okay.
That's all you got?
Well, no, I'm processing in my brain, and I know that's not good for.
No, I'll process it for you. That's a big jump.
I know.
Is it possible? Yeah. I wouldn't want to see him go there and turn into a Matt Miazga situation, though.
True.
Because that hasn't. I mean, it's been okay for Miazga. Would he have been at the same level if he had stayed in MLS? Maybe. I mean, he went to a club at Chelsea and they weren't going to play him. Miles would have to go somewhere where he's going to play. If they'd play him, I'd be fine with it, but I don't know if they would. And I don't know if they would look at him because they already have Miazga in the chain. Like, I don't know if they'd say, well, then, why are we going to get somebody who is below Miazga in the national team pecking order? Should he be? No, I don't think so. Is he? Probably. I would like to see Miles go somewhere where he can play. And if that's not the time yet, if he wants to wait it out and get an even bigger opportunity, if the club wants to wait it out and bring in more money, they should. Cool, wait it out. There's no rush. But, yeah, I'm surprised he's not getting any interest or at least getting any rumors. Adam with a good question when you're talking about Aronson. And Jarrett Smith might chime in. I'm not following the kitchen room where they're waiting on their wings. But is Celtic really a better place to play than Philly right now for Brendan Aronson?
I would say no.
Why would you say no?
You're getting playing time. It's consistent. You're part of a team on the rise. Celtic really isn't challenged except maybe by Rangers in the SPFL. Do we know what Aronson would be doing? Would he be starting at Celtic? Is he coming off the bench? It turns into a minutes thing for me going over there. What's their system? Would he have to warm into their system? Would he start instantly? I have too many questions about a move right now for Brendan Aronson going to Celtic versus what we're seeing from him and his continued development in Philadelphia.
He shouldn't go there if he's not going to play. That's a given. It's crazy that we still have to say that when we're talking about American players going to Europe. But yes, that is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list. Don't just go to go. Those days are done. There are far too many clubs and managers in MLS and in this country that can develop players. You don't have to go there to train. Go there to play. Go there to a club where you're going to play. If he's not going to go to play, then no, he shouldn't go. Celtic has European football, and that's the part you left out, and that's the part that you're not going to get in Philly. But if he's not going to play, it doesn't matter. So if he's going to go there to play and be somebody that they count on, then is it an upgrade? It's not a massive one, but I do think it is because of the opportunity to play in European competition. If he's not going to play, then no, it's not an upgrade at all. He should stay. That's what the decision comes down to for me. Katie Weaver, not a fan, and says, echo some folks on Twitter, but U.S. prospects need to not go to Celtic. Would hope Miles at least has better opportunities than that. Jarrett Smith is throwing things right now, I'm sure, but it's a fact. It's a fact. I mean, we saw it here in Atlanta with Aberdeen, which is the number 3 team in Scotland. If you're going to look at power rankings, Celtics number 1 and number 1 by a pretty large margin. But John Gallagher went from Atlanta United 2 into Aberdeen's first team rotation. I mean, he played a good bit at Aberdeen. So, if you're Brendan Aronson, now, again, the difference is Celtic has European football. That's the difference. That's what puts it into a different conversation. But is it a given just to say, like, well, yeah, Maurice Adu went to Scotland, and, yeah, you should absolutely go if you're in MLS. If you get the chance to go to a Scottish club, you should go. I don't think it's that simple anymore. I think the level – Celtic's just the hard one to compare because of Europe. But outside of that, no, MLS is a more challenging competition. It is. I think it's a better place to develop as a player. But if you have the opportunity to go to Celtic and play in Europe, it can be a launching pad for you. And that's a big part because it can be an entry point for you into a bigger club. That might be Jarrett calling now, yelling and screaming because we're dissing Celtic.
Michael Ruiz wants to know if Tim Ream comes back to MLS if Fulham gets promoted and doesn't keep him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they don't keep him, for sure, he'll come back. I think they might keep him if they get promoted. He's played well. I mean, he's done well for Fulham, so I'd be a little surprised if they got promoted and said, okay, we're done with you, thank you, goodbye. I think they'd probably keep him. I wonder the other side. If they don't get promoted, he might say, well, okay, I'm done trying, I'm going to go back, or I'm going to go into MLS now. I think that's more likely. But who do you think is going to get promoted out of the promotion playoff now?
I got to go with Fulham out of this. It's going to be tight. It probably is going to end up going to penalties. I think that Brentford has just been a little more shaky defensively from what we've seen from both legs, and I just see Fulham as a deeper roster, a quick turnaround for this match at Wembley. I'm going to go with Fulham. That's my gut.
I didn't see that Jared _Smith had snuck into the main room, and now he is battling it out in the Twitch chat. So good times. Okay. I'll let you guys keep going on that. Alex Bassine with a really good point. Can we talk about how Atlanta ruined the future of youth soccer by not scoring a single goal in the tournament? Think of all the Audi bucks we left on the table. Audi is donating for goals in the tournament, and we did not contribute to that. So we'll have to find another way. Yeah, that's disappointing, Alex. I'm with you. I forgot about that. Let's see. Lots to talk about. Trading. Jarrett said, to get Almeida, you'd have to offer Joseph to San Jose and a majority ownership in Magic City Kitchen. I don't know if they'd even give it up for that. All kinds of stuff. So, okay. What else is on the table for you as people fight Jarrett in the main room?
Okay, well, that's the Twitch room on Twitter. Tafka is in this morning. And Tafka says, the Prince of Soccer is back. After having completed a simply mind-boggling busy week and a half, whole month really, Tafka is back, live listening to the best soccer podcast out there. What'd I miss? I know we mutually separated from FDB and everyone's a candidate.
Everybody's a candidate. Pretty much everybody. I mean, we're talking about trading shares in Magic City Kitchen for managers in the league. So, yes, everybody is a candidate. Everybody's on the table. You've missed that Gianni Infantino's being investigated. You've missed, let's see, Gareth Bale's going to stay at Real Madrid, even if he doesn't play. He's
going to go play golf.
I'm good. I'm getting paid a lot of money. I'm good. I'm healthy, man. Hey, Ryan Giggs, I know I'm supposed to play in the Euros next summer, but, man, I mean, I'll play. I don't know how sharp I'm going to be because this guy over here, why do you think Gareth Bale's a bra guy?
it just seems like right now at this point of his career, it's just like I'm just going to cruise. I'm good. I'm
What would the
cool.
Welsh version of bruh be?
Bruh.
Maybe. I don't know. He's just like, yeah, I might not be sharp for the Euros.
Everything's
Whatever.
okay, but
Was that Irish or Welsh?
it's probably Irish.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's about all you've missed, Tafka. Everybody's lit themselves on fire. It's been fun.
Yeah. Tafka does admit, though, he says in our choice of in our question that really didn't have a good choice answer. He says he's got to go Klinsmann. This team would ultimately Bud Kilmer him out the door and self-coach.
Well, that's maybe not far off. Based off some of the things you hear, maybe that's not too far off. Sounds like they just took over the tactics board last year, according to the way some people have put it, and anyway. Yeah. We'll see. Christopher Abel trying to light the main room on fire on Twitch says, "How about Miles Robinson to Rangers?" Because now Jarrett's fired up probably, and Aberdeen fans are fired up because nobody likes Rangers. Yes. Rangers, Jarrett's going to have to remind me on this because I know there were some at least potential changes to the coefficients and how European qualification would go. Rangers is still in the Europa League that needs to be completed in August of the current campaign. They will be in the next qualification, I believe, for Champions League, because I thought Scotland got a second qualification spot. I mean, it's a long road for them to get in, but they might have that opportunity. It's kind of the same conversation, except they've got to be in Europe for it to be worth it, in my opinion, because I just don't think they have the stability or the money to make it worthwhile otherwise. It was mentioned in the room about Feyenoord being a club kind of in this conversation. For a player like Aronson, for a player like McKenzie, I think right now for a player like Miles Robinson, Busio's got to show a little bit more, but maybe, I mean, there was talk about Italy for him, and that felt a little premature. For players like that, it's better, in my opinion, to go to a Celtic, a Rangers, a Feyenoord, a PSV, a Anderlecht, a club at that level that is dominant in their league but has European competition. It's better to go there and play than to go to a Chelsea or a Juve or a big club that you might not play. That's where I draw the line. So if you there's certain clubs that it's good to go to and play that are lesser because it might end up getting you a better move down the line. Others maybe aren't worth it. You've got to play if you're going to go to one of those second-tier clubs. You've got to play. If you go there and you're not playing, you're wasting your time. Stay here in MLS and play. That's kind of where I go with it.
Yeah. For me, it's finances, specifically with Rangers. Can Rangers scrape up enough coins inside the cushions of the couch to bring in someone, regardless of who they think they should bring in? Do they have the money?
Yeah, they've got the money. We're past that point. They've got the money somewhere, somehow. They've got the money. I don't necessarily know how, but they've got the money because they're doing it. They're finding ways to do it. We've made Johannes sad.
Sad Johannes? Okay, how did this happen?
Well, everybody hates Jurgen Klinsmann, and Johannes grew up idolizing him.
Okay. Johannes is definitely in the minority when it comes to the rooms that we have here on the show.
I mean, growing up idolizing him, if there's nothing wrong with that. As a player, great player.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the first to take diving to another level. Sorry, that was another shot, Johannes. I owe you one. But it was as a manager that he drove me crazy.
Yes.
And the whole Hertha Berlin thing is where I really got over the just the bar with him. That made no sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a really smart guy. I mean, if you've read Das Reboot, he had an influence, and he had a very big influence on just Germany, revitalizing the game in the country in terms of development and thinking in a modern way. I mean, he had a big influence. I think he would really be best suited to being in I don't know what the role is. It depends on the club because I don't know if he's a great director of football, to be honest, because he was at Toronto for a minute and it didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if player recruitment's it, but if he's in maybe the Nelson Rodriguez Chicago role where it's not involved with the roster, it's not involved with the player side, but he's involved in the vision for the club. I mean, maybe it's a board member. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But he has great ideas and he has things that benefit clubs, but the actual day-to-day management's just never quite hit.
Yeah.
Katie was team Klinsmann when the hire came, but then the enthusiasm eroded. Das Reboot, you can see his influence, but also his lack of tactical acumen, and that's absolutely true. I wasn't against Klinsmann when he was hired. I wasn't team Klinsmann when he was hired because I worried about his lack of experience. I mean, he had very little when he was hired for the national team. That was his longest job he's ever had outside of being a player, was with the U.S. It felt like Sunil Gulati hired him because of his superstar status, not his coaching acumen. He had some times that made me think, okay, he's going to get it. This is going to work. I don't think he ever put the right people around him. And then when he changed them up ahead of 2014, that worried me. And just the approach in 2014, I mean, it was bad. It wasn't good soccer. You had the exciting game, but outside of that, you were under pressure the whole way. No, you don't want me as manager, Christopher Abel, and that's not happening. Not working for Klinsmann as the technical director either. That's not happening. But the tournament was bad. I thought it was time to part ways there, and it would have been fine. I think it would have been the best thing for Klinsmann as well because it was received well. I didn't enjoy the soccer, but you got to the round of 16. Okay, that's fine. When he stayed, it just got worse. I mean, the Gold Cup the next year was awful. Start of qualification was bad, and then the start of the Hex, that's why you got into the hole that you couldn't climb out of. So, not a fan. Not a fan at all of his work there. I hope that he goes somewhere and rebound. Hertha Berlin could have been that, and that was even worse. So, I don't know. He needs to be in a different role than managing, or he has to get the right people around him.
Yeah.
And that's another key. If you're that guy, and I mean, Klinsmann is very charismatic. I would assume that he's very good working with individual players on a one-on-one basis in terms of getting them prepared, building confidence, those kinds of things. But tactically, it's not there. And I think at times just the approach of everything is not there. If you have the right person that you trust, and he did in 2006 with Yogi Love, if you have the right person you can trust, great. I don't think he's had that since. So anyway, Shiva with a question, and you go first, John. Thoughts about the press conference yesterday? Shiva liked Glassey's attitude toward the team. Seems like a humble and approachable guy.
Yeah, and I admit that our time with the twos is probably going to color my perception in all of this. That I want him to succeed like nobody's business. Whatever happens after the 2020 MLS season, I want Glassey to shine. I want him to show what he can do as a manager from what we've been able to see, how he's been able to have players grow and progress with Atlanta United too. I'm looking forward to seeing what Steven can do on an MLS side. I know that the quote that a lot of folks are gravitating toward yesterday is that if I could get the thing to go, my opinion is players will show more than they're showing and there will be a better product on the field. And so I know that a lot of folks were gravitating toward that yesterday. I'm looking forward to seeing how that translates onto the pitch from a quote in a press conference. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, he understands the situation. I mean, that's the thing here. It's different than when Frank was hired, coming into a preseason. It's different than when Tata was hired, coming into a blank slate. You have a situation. You have a team that underperformed in the tournament in Orlando. You have a team that sounds like there's some issues behind the scenes with the roster and with the previous technical staff. Okay. He gets that coming in, so he's going to act knowing that and rebuild relationships. That's a big part of it. I think he's a great guy for that. I think he's a great fit. He also understands what it's like to be a player in that situation. And Frank did as well, but Frank was in it. Glassy was able to look at it from the outside and come in and act differently and be fresh into that situation. It's going to help him. That understanding of the player mentality is going to help him a lot. I don't know, through his history, it'd be something I'd love to have the conversation with him about if he's been in this situation and has went through something like this as a player. I would assume he has, because most have at some point in their career. It's going to help him. He's the right personality for this. Absolutely. And I think you're gonna get a bump. You get the new manager bump a lot of times. I think you'll get one here because of those personalities, and it'll help him a lot. All right, you need to tell us about our good friend Steve Apolinsky in Decatur, Georgia, and then we're gonna cross our fingers and hope we can get Mike Conti on the line without any shenanigans happening technically, because it's been one of those days. But tell us about our good friend Steve.
All right, Apolinsky and Associates LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. Wrongful death and serious injury attorneys, over 30 years of experience, over $40 million of judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, recognized as legal elite, top 100 firms in the state of Georgia by Georgia Trend Magazine. Couple different ways if this is a road that you need to go down to catch up with Steve and everybody at Apolinsky and Associates. Go to aa-legal.com. That's the website. The second that pops up, you've got a pop-up window, lower right-hand corner. If you want to have a conversation with somebody right then and there, you can do that in that pop-up window, 24/7, 365. You want to have a conversation 4 o'clock in the morning. You got to do it then. Someone will be there. aa-legal.com for the instant conversation. Shoot Steve an email, steve@aa-legal.com. You get a free consultation by giving Steve a buzz at 404-377-9191. So it's phone, it's email, it's website, Apolinsky and Associates LLC, wrongful death and serious injury attorneys. The website, aa-legal.com.
All righty, not bad. That's a solid 8 out of 10, I think.
I have my moments.
Yeah, that was good. All right, let's see. Cross your fingers. Hope nothing crazy happens. Here we go.
Crossed.
Efforting. This is where the producer would come in. We'd be kibitzing about whatever, and the
Yes.
Lakers and the Clippers last night, or whatever was going on. We'd be just talking
Zion
randomly.
Williamson and how he seems to have sprouted another person.
Beefy. We'd be talking about all that while somebody else would be doing this, but this is SDH, so here we go. And we press buttons, and we try to get Mr. Conti on the line, and we hope that John doesn't disappear or turn into a robot or any of the things that sometimes happen. He got fuzzy, but that's okay. And Mike's with us. Hello, Mike. How are you?
What's up, guys? How are you?
We are good. We're going to throw you right into a great question from Katie Weaver on Twitch. And it's a good one. This is a very important one. So she is polling the Twitch chat room, which has been likened to lots of different things. We'll leave that out for now. Would y'all rather win games 4-3 or 1-0? And Katie said, I'm okay with 1-0 if it's like the first 60 minutes of MLS Cup where your team is in complete control.
Yeah, and, that's something that Darren mentioned yesterday, and it's something you've talked about before, Jason, how, everyone kind of waxes about that MLS Cup run in 2018, and in fact, Tata was very, very pragmatic during that MLS Cup run. So this perception that Tata just played this, 100% of the time, wide open, free-flowing, attack and risk whatever style is not necessarily accurate. I'm with Katie. I really don't care how they win as long as they win. If it's 1-0, I think those matches can be fun to watch too. If it's 4-3, that can be fun to watch. I think when it becomes not fun to watch is when teams are playing in a block against you, when they're parking the bus against you. And frequently when you have 1-0 score lines, that's what happens. Teams are parking the bus. You can have, 25 shots, 10 on target. You can have the 75 to 80% of possession. You can pump in 30 some crosses. But if teams are parking the bus against you, it's really hard to break that down. So, that's where I would say, I might rather win a game 4-3 because that would tell me that both teams are playing with initiative. But honestly, I really don't care. I just want to win. And that's why I thought, a lot of what we saw last year, some people were really, really, negative about the way that some of those matches were playing out, especially in May when they had that run of all those clean sheet wins. I thought you had great performances. I mean, that Vancouver game was a 1-0 win where Atlanta United dominated possession, dominated chances, key passes, whatever you want to call them, had more shots on goal. You had a wild goalkeeping sequence by Maxime Crepeau, but we left the stadium that night thinking we saw a pretty entertaining match, even though it ended 1-0. So, long answer to a short question, I guess.
Yeah, the score line doesn't necessarily define the entertainment value. I think in general, if you are scoring a lot of goals, then you have more leeway with the fan base because they feel like they're being entertained. I get that. I understand that. If you are winning games 1-0 and then you go to losing games 1-0, that whiplash is fast. If you are winning games 4-3 and you go to losing games 3-2, it's not as strong of an effect because there's just this impression that goals equal entertainment. And a lot of times it does. It doesn't always tell you how good a team is playing, though.
Well, and I guess what I'm trying to say, now that I have another minute to kind of organize my thoughts, is sometimes it's not up to you.
Also true.
Sometimes it's up to how you're being played. Hold on one second, guys. I'm at the computer here. I gotta pull up some box scores from last year because, again, I don't think a lot of times you're not in control of things like this. I'm going to pull up a box score here, and hopefully I'm going to be proven to be correct. Okay, the Atlanta-Colorado game last year. Atlanta, 15 shots, 66% possession, 25 crosses. Let's see. Colorado had 32 clearances. 1-0. You scored in the 74th minute because Colorado had parked the bus against you. Mm-hmm. All those statistics would tell you that Atlanta United was playing in an attack style where they were trying to score 4 or 5 goals, right? Sometimes it's just not up to you. Let me pull up another one here.
Colorado played a game like the Ballhead Cooties, Mike.
Pretty much, yeah, and that's my point. Like, it's hard. Sometimes you can't control how teams are going to play against you. Let's go to that Vancouver match I brought up. Let's see if my memory is as fuzzy as sometimes I think it is. Okay, yeah, 17 shots for Atlanta. 12 crosses, less than I thought. But 17 shots, 6 on target. Atlanta had 46% of the possession, so I might have misremembered how that game played.
Second half changed a little bit.
That was earned by Pitti.
Yeah.
But you kind of get my point, don't you? Here, let's go to. I hate to bring this up as an example because it was a draw, but let's look at that match you had against Cincinnati right after you were down in Monterey. 10 shots to 4, 66-33 possession, 27 crosses. Cincinnati had 23 clears. So, again, that's telling me Atlanta's going forward. They're trying to generate a bazillion goals, but it's hard to play through a team that puts 10 or 11 guys behind the ball. So that's where I think we need to be a little bit careful. I know a lot of people are latching on to what Darren said yesterday. And I think there's going to be this assumption that whenever the first game under Stephen Glass is played that, Atlanta United, they're just going to throw caution to the wind and they're going to throw everyone forward and they're going to try to score 5 goals. And if they give up 4 on counter, so be it. I'd kind of like to know who they're playing first before making that determination. So I just think that's a big part of it. And it's not necessarily something you can control or fully control. But that's a type of match that Atlanta has been pulled into a lot, even in 2017 and 2018, because there's so much opposition respect of Atlanta United. And Cincinnati's an example of that at the tournament. Playing up a man, still sitting back, putting everyone behind the ball. It's because everyone respects the level of talent that Atlanta United has.
Oh, and Mike, you mentioned a word when you started the research. It was the word pragmatic. And I think that a lot of folks are drawn to that word and think it's a dirty word. I don't think that pragmatic is as negative as folks perceive it to be. There are different ways to go about things. And when someone says that you're being pragmatic about your approach, it's not, it's not completely and totally everybody back behind the ball and then we're just going to wait for that one opportunity. Pragmatic is not a dirty word.
Yeah, and let's go back to something Jason talked about, how, the perceptual swing is more wild from a 1-0 win to a 1-0 loss. Atlanta United lost a couple games last year that were very wide open and entertaining. The two that come to mind for me are the match in Toronto, where you had that BS penalty at the end for Toronto, and then, Pitti missed an ensuing penalty for Atlanta, and the game at LAFC. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember a lot of Atlanta United fans saying after those two matches, yeah, we lost, but at least it was entertaining.
No, I don't remember that either.
Do you?
No.
I remember a lot of complaining. Why can't we find a way to beat LAFC? Why can't we find a way to win at Toronto? Remember, Joseph didn't even play that night. Yeah. He was on international duty. So I'm sorry. I just want to win. To me, a 4-3 win and a 1-0 loss count the same. I want to win trophies. I want to have parades. That's what's fun to me. So if you do a 1-0 or 4-3, I don't care. But on the same level, I don't want to lose 4-3 any more or less than I want to lose 1-0.
Right. Yeah, it's a thing for me that, and I felt like we talked about it a lot last year, because when the team was playing well, and this was whether they were scoring goals or not, when they had control of matches, they were playing well. When they didn't have control of matches, then you don't have as much say over the result. If you're controlling matches and you score 4 goals, great, even better. If you control matches and you score 1 goal, but you're giving up 2 chances to the opposition in 90 minutes, I'll take that too. I want the team to control games and put themselves in a position to win matches, and I'd love for them to score a lot of goals doing it. I don't want them to concede a lot of goals, period. And it's not about being defensive, it's about controlling games. LAFC is not a defensive team by any stretch, but they control games in multiple ways. San Jose, not a defensive team. A lot of people talk about their defense, but they're not a defensive team. They control games because they have 60% of the possession. They take a ton of shots, and they put you under pressure. They don't sit and defend. They defend with their front. LAFC defends with the front of their team. They're going to score goals, but they're also a team that doesn't give up a ton of chances. You can defend in different ways, just like you can control games in different ways, just like you can score goals in different ways. I just want the team to be in control. I want them to be in a position to win more games more often than not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one other thing that we're forgetting as we kind of step back and assess what Frank did, and they've had this recent run of 395 minutes where they haven't scored a goal. They've lost 4 competitive matches in a row. All 4 were not played at home. I think we forget that. All 4 were not played at home. It's hard to win soccer matches on the road or at neutral sites that feel like road games. It's hard. I think we've kind of lost sight of that too. I know that seems like a really simple thing, but everything that has fallen into place for Atlanta United this year has been uniquely difficult. Losing your best goal scorer, one of the best goal scorers in league history, having to play 4 of your first 5 league matches away from home, and if you want to add all competitions, 6 of your first 8 matches overall away from home. That's hard. You're dealing with a global pandemic that interrupted the season for 3+ months. You're dealing with players testing positive or getting false positive. Like there's so many things that have fallen into place in a negative way for Atlanta United this year. I don't know if it would have been dramatically different if Frank said, you know what, just go out there and play. I don't care. No structure, just go out there and play. Try to score 5 goals. If we give up 4 on counters, no big deal. I don't know if
you're not going to win that way.
No, not with the hand you've been dealt. And I still don't know if you can win that way once you restart games.
No.
At least until Joseph comes back.
What you become, and this is the thing, when you look at San Jose is a lot of fun to watch. San Jose hasn't won anything yet. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They're a lot of fun to watch, and it's chaotic, and there's always stuff happening. It's not necessarily winning for them. Now it feels like they're turning a corner. They still have a lot to prove. Taking it past control, I want to see a team that is confident. I want to see a team that plays with confidence, plays with a little bit of swagger. That's where I think it's more fun. You can't control the result. Like you said, Mike, if a team comes in and parks the bus against you, you've got to deal with that. And you might not score 4 goals. You might score 1. That might be all you need. You can't control that. You can control your mentality. You can control how you approach the match. And I want to see a team that plays in that way. In Orlando, in the 6 halves of soccer we saw, they played with confidence in 2 of them, in my opinion. The second half against Red Bulls, the second half against Columbus. It's not good enough. Not for a club at this level. They have to be confident in every match. They have to come in and play with confidence. And they have to, the point, like you compared the Colorado game last year. So you look at that one, the 1-0 win, which that was all you could get out of that game because it's all Colorado gave you, really, because they put everybody behind the ball. You take the scoreless draw that ended up you got knocked out in penalties against Columbus in the playoffs in 2017, where you played really well, and it was a great match. It's one of the best scoreless draws I've ever seen. You take those games and you compare them to beating New England 7-0 in 2017. You played better against Columbus. You played better against Colorado than you played against New England. New England was terrible. Like, it's just because you scored 7 doesn't mean you played better or it was more entertaining. You scored 7, you got to celebrate 7 goals. That's fun. The soccer wasn't better. The scoreless draw was a far better match, and you played better in that match.
Yeah. Again, great points. And I'll just one final statement to this, and I'm sure you'll probably want to move on. I mean, you had a 3-2 loss in Toronto, a 3-3 draw to Red Bulls, and a 4-3 loss to LAFC, which were wild, wide open, end-to-end, very entertaining games that all produced unsatisfactory results and led to a lot of hand-wringing from this fan base after those matches. So I would just say be careful what you wish for. There's a lot of hand-wringing, too, after a 1-0 win over Colorado. Which, by the way, I did not think was fair, but there was a lot of hand-wringing after that. So I would just say be careful what you wish for. You may just get it. And I am sure that Stephen Glass, based on what he said yesterday, is going to do an excellent job in implementing a structure that's going to give his players the freedom to play and to show off their talents and motivate them to improve. I have no doubt about any of that. I think Glassie's a fantastic manager. He's going to do a phenomenal job. I love the fact that he mentioned that he would like to kind of prove what he can do with players of this talent. I love hearing that. I think that's great. But I think, again, we're getting a little too hung up on this promise of we're going to try to score more goals. I mean, right now, trying to score more goals is scoring one goal.
Yep.
True.
So I think we got to be just a little bit careful. I think right now Atlanta United without Joseph Martinez is probably going to be better. They're going to have a better chance of winning a match 1-0 than 4-3. I just feel that way right now. Now, if you sign Kubo Torres and he can replicate 80% of what Joseph can do, and you figure things out in a tactical way that puts a little more onus on the 9, okay, then maybe we're in a different conversation. But with what you got right now and what we know, I just think the chances are higher that you're going to score 1 goal and win than score 3 goals and win. I think there are. I just don't think Atlanta United's set up for it right now with what they have personnel-wise.
There's always nail-biting and gnashing of teeth in the extremes, when we're talking about sports, whether you're winning and it's nail-biting or winning and it's a boat race. So
right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many 1-0 games did we walk away from and say, wow, that was a really good game. That was really, really tense. That was well played. I feel like we've had a lot of those. Or 1-1 games or 2-1 games. I feel like we've had. I mean, the 2-0 at Cincinnati, where Atlanta United scored 2 phenomenal goals in the second half, after completely dominating them in the first. And we walked down to Nippert Stadium that night thinking, okay, that was a really good performance by Atlanta United. That was a good game. So it can happen. The 1-1 in Montreal at the end of the season. We walked out of there that night thinking, boy, I mean, you wish that the goal that was ruled out would have counted, and you would have won. But it was still a really good 1-1 draw. So, I'm trying not to get hung up on scoreline. I'm trying to get more hung up on feel of the match. Did Atlanta United dominate? That's what I want to see.
That's a good word.
Because you and by the way, that's a word that Frank used a lot. We're Atlanta United. We want to dominate, but you can dominate and win 1-0.
Yep.
Talk to Germany in the 2014 World Cup against USA, final game of group. That's about as dominant a 1-0 win as you could ever have. Now the USA almost got lucky in stoppage and almost snuck out of there with a point, but you can win 1-0 and completely dominate. It is possible.
You can win 1-0 and dominate. You can win 1-0 and be hanging on, by the skin of your teeth too. So it's about the feel to me of the game rather than the scoreline. That's what I'm looking for. Lots of stuff going on. What do you think of Philadelphia last night?
Impressed. Really, really, really impressed. I actually thought coming into the tournament, I know you were really high on SKC.
Yeah.
Philly and SKC were 2 of my 8 teams that could win it. And if you would have told me that's going to be your championship game, I would have had no argument against that, and I would have had no argument with the result. You are definitely seeing a coming out party for Brenden Aaronson. There's no doubt about it. And this is all unfolding in front of Greg Berhalter's eyes. And Brenden Aaronson has absolutely, in my opinion, played his way into the U.S. men's national team in this tournament. He's been phenomenal. So really impressed with Philly. This is something that was building second half of last season. And, I think match compression at the end of last regular season really ended up hurting them, may have exhausted them a little bit, but yet they still beat Atlanta, beat LAFC, won a playoff game in extra time against Red Bulls, and played here in Atlanta a really, really tough competitive match. So this was something that had started at the end of last year and was really starting to build. And then you play LAFC again this year out in LA, and it's a phenomenal match.
Yep.
Last regular season match that was played in a home stadium in this league. So this has been building for a while. Not surprised to see this with Philadelphia at all. A little bit surprised to see Brenden Aaronson take as big a step as he's taken. But it's a testament to him. It's a testament to Jim Curtin. And I think Philly right now, let's see what happens in Orlando LAFC. But I think Philly right now looks like they're the team to beat down there.
And that's what we were leaning at, Mike, was we went through our bracket and kind of projected our way through when the show started this morning, and we were looking at the probability of something along the lines of Philadelphia and LAFC for all the Tostitos on the 11th.
Hey, Jason, by the way, I know my phone's going off, and I know you're getting these texts too. Are these something I should look at, or can it wait?
Well, you'll probably be with us, so go ahead and take a peek if you can.
Okay, hold on. It's something at 10:30.
Yes.
All right, hold on, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
Give
Do you
us a
think
top.
I can figure out a way to look at a text message while being on Skype?
I'm going to go
Rhode
with no.
Island is neither a road nor an island, discuss.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So just everybody listening will probably want to hang out for a while. Just say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Would you mind, guys? I probably will need to go on the radio with that. Would you mind if I break connection with you?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that now.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry to do that. Duty
No,
calls.
it's all good.
But we'll talk on Wednesday.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. You cooking anything on the grill today?
Yeah, what's on the grill?
Oh yeah. Real quick, I got to grab my headphones here. Steak Oscars. So going to get some crab meat and a couple good-looking steaks. So looking forward to that.
Ooh, very nice. Okay.
So take care. Thanks for the heads up, Jason.
No worries.
All right. See ya.
Yep.
Good.
All right. So y'all got a tease for like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. You know, stuff happens. Sometimes it happens while we're on the show, and sometimes it's things that could be kind of big. So it's hang out. I get to try to keep a secret for a few minutes. Always fun.
Yes. A couple of other things on Twitter. The Airborne DJ with the question from yesterday.
What's up?
That you posted.
Yes.
And so you wanted to know the top sports theme songs, and I figure since it's a Friday, we can kind of lean in this direction toward the end of the show, in and around the.
Okay, that's not where I wanted to go to try to fill a couple minutes, but okay, go for it quickly.
Top sports theme songs, do they have to be original tracks, or can it be an existing track used for someone's theme?
It's just used for somebody's theme.
So there you go. And so that's the question.
You're not filling any time, John.
No, I'm saying that's the question to the floor. I have my 5, and they probably don't match anybody else.
Oh man, this is not good. Okay. We're not going to do that. We will talk about some soccer news for a couple of minutes. We'll come back to that since
soccer news
John
for a couple
is
of minutes. How about that?
Doing very bad at what we're trying to do. Okay. There was a lot of talk about Ralph Rangnick going to Milan, and that did not happen. We got into it on Soccer Over there. He is leaving the Red Bull organization. It's contract termination. The articles in Der Spiegel. Where is he going to end up? He was kind of the founding father of the Red Bulls press and that style of play, and that was what was going to go to Milan. Didn't happen. He's going to go somewhere, I think. Where will be interesting because he's not going to come in and just, we've talked about managers here and coming in to fit to what the roster is. That's not who he is. He's going to come in and overhaul everything and play in that pressing style that we've seen all the Red Bull teams do. We saw Hoffenheim do under him and others. So you're going to see wherever he goes play in that way. I'm fascinated to see where he ends up. So keep an eye on that one. Nick Alifi in the private room said Roma or Newcastle would be possibilities. Roma, well, Newcastle, who knows at this point? We'll have to wait and see. Roma, it's a tough one because I don't know if his, talk about style of play and talk about controlling games or dominating games, his style dominates games, but in a different way. It's not. It could lead to 4 goals. It could lead to 1. It's dominating games through a defensive tactic as opposed to an offensive tactic. So, I don't know if Roma's that fit. I think Roma's trying to be bigger than that. And John, you failed at killing time. You're completely awful at filling time. So no, you failed on that. You don't get to try to back out of that. Jeez.
Turner Kirby has a question involving the USL.
Yeah, there's a big issue with the USL at the moment. 11 players for Galaxy 2 tested positive. Next match is less than 2 weeks away. That had been kind of rumored a little bit, but wasn't confirmed until later yesterday. I'd seen the rumors pop up when we're talking about positive tests. I'm taking a slower slower road on that in terms of saying, oh, yeah, there's rumors of positive tests. I want to wait till they're confirmed because we've seen the false positives. Galaxy 2 have 11 positives. That's affected how the Galaxy are training as well. That's a big problem, and we haven't seen much of this in this new world we're in. If this starts to happen more, you can't play. You've got to find out why it happened with Galaxy 2. You've got to find out why it happened with the Miami Marlins. You've got to find those things out, because if this is happening on a regular, you can't play. So you've got to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, Turner says he didn't see on the LA2, on the Los Dos News, I don't see why USL should scrap the whole league season because groups are so regionalized. I think they need to make a group-by-group decision. And if a group is shut down, adjust the playoff brackets or qualification accordingly. Best automatic qualifying teams make it like MLS is back.
Right. When it's one team, yeah, you can deal. It's never ideal, but you can deal with it because you can move things around. You can deal with the region. You can make it work. In a case like this, you can take them off the schedule. Everybody else plays out. You have the group winner goes through. All that stuff. You can do that. Yes, I know. We are waiting. Okay, and there it is. And I should have had this pulled up, but I was trying to fill time since somebody else failed. Atlanta United announces Joseph Martinez placed on the season-ending injury list. Had the successful surgery on March 18th. Rehab is progressing well and going to plan. Carlos Bocanegra said, however, it was important for us to make this move as it gives us roster relief and flexibility for the rest of the 2020 season. We will miss his ability and leadership on the field this season, but we look forward to having him back at the start of preseason next year. So you receive roster relief for putting a player on the season-ending injury list. They can't play the rest of the season, obviously, duh. But you get roster relief that opens up a spot. You get some kind of cap relief, which could come into play. So Joseph Martinez out for the rest of the season. Want to know what you think, because this opens up a spot. Shiva says Joseph will be mad. I'm sure he knew that this was a possibility. The problem is, or the thing is, if he's not going to be able to play, and we've wondered what that timeline could look like, because every ACL is different. If he's not going to be able to play until the playoffs, do you need somebody now? And yeah, I'm sure they told Joseph first. I'm sure that was part of the conversation with all of this going down. If you're not going to get him back anytime soon, you might need somebody else instead. And if you don't have the roster space, and we talked about it, you didn't have a senior roster spot. Jurgen Damm took up the last senior roster spot. Now you got one. There's been a lot of rumors. Now you got a spot to work with. What that means, we'll have to wait and see. Does that mean Jonathan Gonzalez? Does that mean Kubo Torres? Does that mean somebody else we haven't heard, which happens all the time with this team? Rumors don't always get out. Christopher Abel said, here I was thinking he'd be back in September. There goes our MLS Cup hopes. Not necessarily to the latter, but yeah, it's a more difficult road. It depends on how you replace him. And that's not easy. It's never easy when you lose a guy the caliber of Joseph Martinez. It just can't be. And as Atlanta Phoenix says, I agree, this is an expected development in a cap league. You can't just, if it's not a cap league, you just go sign somebody. Just go and sign whoever you want and pay them whatever you want and get them in the door and you move on. That's not MLS. You have limitations and you have to open up some possibilities. By opening up the spot, getting some cap relief as well, now you can go replace him. Is this maybe some reaction to the way the team played in Orlando? It could be. Because you had possibilities to replace him with what you had in place. It didn't work out. And if you've made the decision that we need more, you had to clear a spot. You had to. There was no other way around it because you did not have a spot. You had a supplemental roster spot. That was it. Alex Pacine says Kubo Torres is the one that we're getting into here, and maybe that could be it. That would make sense. He's on a free right now. He's a forward. Would make a lot of sense. We'll have to see. He's a player who's had success in this league. He's a player who didn't have success over the last couple of years in Mexico. So you've got to get him back to the form, really going back to Chivas USA days. Because even in Houston, it was good, but Mara Manotas ended up being better. Christopher Abel said, does this free up a DP spot for a year or just a roster spot? Just a roster spot. That's all you got so far. So, yeah. What do you think, John?
No, you're having to look for your future and the immediate future, not down the line kind of stuff. But, when you're trying to be competitive, you're trying to chase after trophies, and you don't want to rush Joseph back, obviously. Yes, we've seen rehab, and yes, we've seen the videos. Yes, we've seen the progress.
It's good progress.
Yes. So we've seen all of that. Taking that all into account, right now, you're still trying to get things done in what you're anticipating will be a continuation of the season after MLS is back. And if you've got folks on a grocery list that you think can help you out in this situation, you have to do certain things, and that means adjusting your roster space and roster spots and all that kind of stuff. And you mentioned it, being in a cap league. So that's the biggest thing is you've got to figure out what you want to do. And right now, being safe with your marquee player, that's the biggest part in all of this.
You've got to open up the spot. You've got to give yourself some possibility to be able to go out and get the addition. And you didn't have that before. There was just flat out no way to do it because your roster was full. This does it. Now, why didn't you do it sooner? You didn't have to because you only had 3 games in Orlando that were set, and you had options. They don't perform, you have to go do other things, and that's what opens up this possibility. There's a lot of different ways to go down this road here because Joseph, by all accounts, recovery is good. He's going to be back for next season. He's not going to be rushed back. That's all good. He'll be fine next year. Now you can put him on that train to being ready for January or whenever the next season starts because it could get pushed back a little bit. Who knows? January, early February, whatever. You can put him on that road to get ready. Beyond that, you've got to figure out the rest of the season. If you need more firepower, this was the only way you could do it because outside of trading or selling somebody else, this was it. You were full after Jurgen Damm signing. So craziness, madness, not surprised. This is how it goes. I'm not surprised that it's now instead of it didn't happen earlier because you had to go with what you had initially. You also wanted to give more time, and that's maybe one of the hardest things about an ACL is the fact that you are okay, weird. We'll get into something in a second. Maybe with this ACL recovery, you wanted to see more first in terms of his recovery to get a better sense of the timeline. And if you haven't seen enough to say he'll be back in September or he'll be back at the beginning of October and he'll be able to play 8 regular season games, if it's literally down to a few games and maybe playoffs, is he going to be fit enough to contribute?
Yeah.
If you're running that risk, do you want to do that, or do you want to go get somebody else? And I know there's been looks like there's been some things going on about a signing that could be coming. And it's the one that's been rumored. It's one of the ones that's been rumored. Kubo Torres would not be a shock at all because he's available on a free. Now, the question, if you're able to go get him, the question is how you move up in the allocation order. Because he is an allocation order player. You are number 21 in the allocation order right now. If 20 teams pass, okay, then fine, you don't have to move up. Which is possible. Because forward is not a position that everybody has a need on. There's a lot of teams that might say, we're not going to do it. Colonel, no, we're not trading for Dom Dwyer. It's all good. Although you have the roster spot. So, I mean, if you wanted to, but he's injured too, so he's no help to us at all. Let's look at the allocation order real quick and what you got to do to move up. So, Kubo Torres is part of the allocation process, along with players like Tim Ream, who was mentioned earlier, quite a few other players on the list. FC Cincinnati has Jurgen Locadia, Vancouver Whitecaps number 2. They've got Cavallini. Orlando's got Dwyer and Akindelli. Sporting Kansas City has Pulido. Columbus has Zardes. Houston, he already left Houston a while back. They've got Manotas. Montreal's an interesting one at number 7 because they could use a number 9. Chicago has Beric. Colorado has Kai Kamara. San Jose has a lot of options up top. New England just signed Buxa. They have Gustavo Bo. Dallas just added a player in the offseason. Red Bulls is 13. That's another one that's a little possible here. Portland just added the Polish striker Nishkoda. Philadelphia has got Shabilko. Minnesota added Amaria in the offseason. LA Galaxy has Chicharito. RSL, 18. That's another one that's kind of, DC with Ola Kamara. New York City has a ton of options. So there's 3 teams ahead of you in the allocation order that might want a Kubo Torres ahead of you, and you've got to deal with that. Montreal would be the one that needs a number 9, I think, in a big way. Red Bulls, I don't think they would go for him. RSL would be another one that would possibly need him. So, what?
Traditionally, in this case, usually what you're looking to, these kinds of transactions, it's usually sending some allocation money one way or the other to move up in the allocation.
It's not cheap. It's not necessarily cheap. This is not a typical one, though, because so many teams ahead of you would not have the need for Kubo Torres, but there are some ahead of you who could. So stay tuned on how that goes down. Those teams could pass. I mean, like Red Bulls, I don't think he's a fit for Red Bulls. So a lot of people are talking right now. The Kubo Torres thing is not official as of yet. Waiting to see what happens with this. Oh, I think we have a Darren Eales tweet, so I guess it's going to happen fast. Yeah, it's going to happen fast. And I'm assuming it's ET? Yes, it is E. Oh, there we go. I got it now. Okay. John, do you get it? E.T., Darren Eales with an E.T. mask on, it looks like, with a shiny finger. Do you understand?
Phone home, extraterrestrial.
So we're signing an alien, according to John.
Eric Torres. Got it. Eric Torres Padilla.
Eric Torres, Kubo Torres. The app pulled it, Ricky. I think timing got a little out of whack here. So it is now that we have a tweet from Darren Eales that kicks us into acquisition mode.
Anticipatory move.
No, it kicks us into a move's going to happen. We know this because a notification went out a little early. These things happen sometimes. So Kubo Torres, I think, is a very safe assumption unless there's somebody else with the initials ET or we're signing an alien. Just saying. It is Darren Eales. I don't have notifications on for Darren Eagles. Chris, I've got the Darren Eales notifications on. Kubo Torres will take this roster spot, barring something crazy.
Okay, and so even if it was an alien, it would still count as I had it in my brain. It's like an international player spot is what I was trying to. So even if it is an extraterrestrial, it would count as an international player, right?
That was what you were going with?
Yeah, I couldn't think of international spot.
Yeah. Man. Okay. We are not getting the worst Atari 2600 game ever, Jarrett _Smith. That would be bad. That's not good. All right. It's going to happen. I know. Matt Wagner's tweeting at us. The app announced it, but the article won't load. The article didn't get posted or got pulled very quickly. Appears that timing got a little out of whack. These things happen when you're dealing with apps and emails and press releases and cryptic tweets and everything lining up correctly when there's probably a lot of remote working going on. Mauricio Pochettino was not spotted at the Dwarf House, Alex Pacine. I did not see that. I did not get that rumor. It's not coming from a Tier 1 source. So, yeah. Yeah, it's coming in just a second. He was not spotted at Magic City either. I don't think Pochettino's a Magic City guy, although he would like the Wings. I'm telling you.
I was going to say, would he be a Wings guy?
Well, yeah, I think he would. I would. The Wings are
Kevin
amazing.
Harlan.
Kevin Harlan wants them shipped. I mean, somebody should be doing the Smokey and the Bandit run down to the bubble in the NBA and bringing the Wings. I'd do it. They want to pay me to do it. I'm down. I'll put Gwen in the front seat and drive a big truck and take Wings down to the bubble. I'm in.
Little snowman action going.
If they're going to pay me to do it, yes, I am in. I will do that.
That's a rather large DoorDash fee.
Hey, I'll take it.
I'd love to know what that is. If you're door dashing something from Atlanta to Orlando, making sure that everything is going to be the way it's supposed to be. If you're taking the Magic City Wings, and I imagine it would be more than just the one plate. I mean, it would probably be a substantial amount that would have to be ordered to go from Atlanta to Orlando to make it worth your while.
Yeah,
Pack
I mean
the car.
That's what I'm saying. Take a truck. There's a lot of people who would be wanting some wings. So I don't think I would have a problem getting rid of the wings once I arrived on the outskirts of the bubble. I'd have to figure out a way to launch the wings over the bubble line and all that.
The Maginot line, or the line of the Treaty of the Tordesillas, that would make sure that the wings made it over.
Yes. Yeah, I would have to sort that out.
If you're on the outside, can you place something over the line yourself? If you're on the outside, then that way you place it, you back away. Then the NBA player or the individual inside the bubble doesn't have to cross over the line and have a 10-day.
All right.
Now you want to kill time. Now you want to start killing time. I see how it is.
About the logistics of doing this now. You have me curious.
Now, okay, stop killing time, John. Here we go. Kubo Torres is going to happen. It's a done deal. 27-year-old striker. Last with Tijuana. It's coming. It's happening. So Kubo Torres.
It happened.
See, I told you. It happened. It happened. It happened. The app went early. Everything's happening. Things are happening. There we go. So. Yes. Let's get into the press release, because this is part of it that we've had questions about. Season-ending injury replacement players. That's why the Joseph move had to happen, because you can add Kubo Torres. He has a permanent resident card, so he is a domestic player, does not take up an international slot. That was a key to all of this. So you're getting a player who does not take up an international slot because you ain't got one right now. Player who has more than 230 professional appearances, 65 goals scored at the club level. He has caps for Mexico. He's played the last 2 years in Mexico, most recently with Tijuana, 7 goals and 37 appearances across all competitions. It didn't really work for him at Pumas, which is where he went after leaving Houston Dynamo, 2 goals and 8 appearances. He played parts of 5 different years, 2013 to 17 in MLS, 36 goals and 93 MLS appearances. Went from Chivas de Guadalajara to Chivas USA midway through 2013, signed as a designated player. 7 goals and 15 appearances in 2013, 15 goals and 29 appearances in 2014. Signed by Houston ahead of the 2015 season as a DP, loaned to Chivas de Guadalajara for 6 months, scored twice in 5 games. Went to Cruz Azul in 2016, only played 3 times. Came back to Houston in 2017, scored 14 goals, Houston single-season record. Had a hat trick against the Red Bulls on April 1st. He came through the Chivas de Guadalajara Academy, did well there, got the loan to Chivas USA, broke out, and then it's just been a little stop-start. It's just been kind of back and forth for him. Houston Dynamo had added Mauro Manotas at that point. Manotas was a better fit as a whole, so you get an offer to sell, you take the money. He goes to Mexico, didn't go to the right clubs, didn't play enough, never got settled. This is a 27-year-old who has scored double-digit goals in his 2 full seasons in MLS. And he nearly got there in his half season in 2013. You get him as a season-ending injury replacement player. He doesn't take up an international slot. That's not too shabby. And now we get to see what Cubo Torres can do with this group. He is more of a true number 9. He's a different number 9 than Adam John. He is a number 9 who can get in behind. He's a number 9 who is not as big, so the target play isn't as great of a fit for him. But the way we've seen Atlanta play, maybe you don't want that. Maybe Adam John is your alternative to that, and you're not seeing him as a starting number 9, even without Joseph. Cubo Torres comes in to be that replacement. He scored goals in this league. You get him as an injury replacement player. He's not an international player. Not too bad.
Tafka is saying Torres could be a nice piece for depth, too. Could y'all see him staying on even when Joseph returns next year?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a possibility because, he needs somewhere to be for a period of time. He's in the prime of his career. He should be. His move to Mexico from Houston, he might have been better served to go to another MLS club, but Houston probably got the most money from Pumas, so that's where he goes. It didn't work. Tijuana, he was okay, but Tijuana's been just kind of okay for the last couple of years, so it's not a shock that he didn't do as well there. He needs to play, and he's done well in this league, so he could be a player you could play 2 up top, potentially, depending on that chemistry. He gives you another weapon. I'm curious to see where he's at because he hasn't played a ton over the last couple of years. Where is he at when he joins this group? And if he develops chemistry with Jürgen Damm, with Barco, with Pitti, okay, you've got an attack now that can be dangerous. You're talking about a player who, in his 2 full seasons in MLS, scored double-digit goals. There's not a whole lot of those guys available. He is, and he doesn't take up an international slot. Not bad.
Good piece of business. Matt Wagner wants to know if we knew if Jonathan Gonzalez would require an international slot. It would go back.
No, Jonathan Gonzalez was a U.S. citizen, so no, he doesn't. He hasn't lost his citizenship.
Okay, because
he played for he was going to play for the U.S. You have to be a citizen to play for the United States men's national team. He's a citizen.
Right. So Matt was wondering about that, and
no, I know. We've said it before many times. I want to make this clear. You can be a citizen and play for another country. He's a U.S. citizen, I believe, and let me confirm it so I don't mess this up. I think he was born in the United States. Yeah, he was born in Santa Rosa, California. So, yeah, of course he doesn't take up an international slot. The international slot's tied to citizenship, and green cards allow you to count as a citizen. That's just labor law.
Because Matt was wondering if it went back to Weick theory, if at least one of them was, assuming that we.
That's a whole different thing. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Let's stay focused here. All right, you don't have an international slot right now because Jürgen Damm will be 8 of 8. You don't have a senior roster spot now with Cubo Torres replacing Joseph Martinez. To make other moves, Jonathan Gonzalez. You don't need an international slot. You need a roster spot. You need a senior spot. Anybody else that has been rumored so far has been international, so they would need an international slot and a senior roster spot. Weick going to Atlanta United 2 would free up the international slot, but not the senior roster spot. So that would mean you'd have to have 2 moves. This is all a lot of... thanks, Kepsy. I just wanted to make sure he was born in the States. I knew he was a citizen, but I didn't want to say that he was not born. I wanted to make sure I had that part right. So, yeah, he was born in California. That's where we're at. That's where things stand at the moment. So, lots of action. This is going to be a silly, silly season. This is going to be a very silly season. So, Cubo Torres is now a member of Atlanta United. This is his 3rd MLS team, Chivas USA, rest in peace, poor little out, and Houston Dynamo. And he's a player who, we talk about guys like this a lot. He's a guy who has not lived up to what we thought he would be at different points. like I said, he got that call up to Mexico in 2014 under Miguel Herrera. That was during his breakout year at Chivas USA. Called up in September, played in October, scored a goal. Called up during the 2017 Gold Cup again, in another good year for him with the Houston Dynamo. Played 3 times as Mexico got to the semifinals. But when you have that year he did in 2014, well, honestly, the second half of 2013 and 2014, and you have the year that he had in 17, you expect more, and it just hasn't happened for him when he's been in Mexico. For whatever reason. Maybe wrong club, maybe wrong manager, maybe wrong fit, don't know. He has produced enough to where you absolutely give him an opportunity here. Again, you don't have a ton of options because you don't have a ton of cap space. He is a season-ending injury replacement player. Now, let's see if I can break that down a little bit further so you know kind of how he fits. I'm pretty sure they defined it. It's not just any kind of regular signing. That's a key to this and that's why you had to do it in this way. Give me a second so I get the right terminology here because it's kind of buried. Okay. Club may replace an injured player that is on the season-ending injury list with a new replacement player in accordance with the parameters below. This is from the MLS rules and regulations. The club will remain responsible for the injured player's full salary budget charge. Joseph gets paid. Clubs may execute a trade to create salary budget space in order to sign such a replacement player. This is the only circumstance in which a club may trade for salary budget space. And that has not happened here. Clubs are only able to receive salary budget relief paid out of the club's own pocket for a season-ending injury under the following parameters. The injured player must be earning at least $100,000 per year. That's check. The injured player must have suffered the season-ending injury prior to the close of the primary transfer window, and the new player must be acquired as of such date. Believe that's a check, although the transfer window stuff is kind of bonkers at the moment. The replacement player may earn up to $250,000, but not more than the player who suffered the season-ending injury. That seems reasonable. A credit in the amount of the replacement player's charge will be applied to the player who suffered the season-ending injury. The club shall reimburse the league an amount equal to such credit. Paperwork with cap space, okay? And you're only able to sign one. So now Joseph doesn't take up an international slot, so it doesn't matter. And the replacement player is not an international player, so that part doesn't matter. You don't get a bonus international slot here. He's not an international player, Joseph, because he has a green card. Okay. So Cubo Torres can earn up to $250,000 a year, not more than that. Believe that probably is realistic in terms of his salary, and here you go. Questions, comments? We'll take them for just a little bit. We'll hang around a little while longer. What else you got, John, on this? Anything?
John Nason wants to know if this was an allocation order transaction. Nothing had been mentioned in the release.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because, no, it wasn't mentioned. He was listed on the allocation ranking order that was last updated July 1st. Eric Torres is listed there because he was transferred out of MLS and garnered a transfer fee of at least $500,000. That is why he would be on this list. Atlanta would be number 21. So as we went through, there's only really 3 clubs ahead that I could see wanting to sign him because they need a number 9. Montreal, Red Bulls, and Real Salt Lake. It's feasible that they had passed and he became available that way. I'll be curious to see. It was not mentioned in the press release. I'll see what I can find out on that. But there's only 3 clubs that I'd be worried about claiming him ahead. So maybe it just worked out to where you get him. Everybody else passed.
Then Nathan Pugh, looking at a possibility of a starting 11. He says, Liverpool tried 2 up top, e.g. Suarez and Carroll. That did not work. That's a roll of the dice, old school tactic. And he says, boo this tactic.
No, not boo this tactic because, Atlanta played a 3-5-2 before and everybody loved it. Philly plays a 4-4-2. It depends on the tactics. It depends on the chemistry more than anything is what's important. As we've seen, Joseph is more than just a number 9 who stands and runs between the lines. He can do more things than that. Can he pair with Kubo Torres? You got to see it first. Could you play a 4-4-2? This did not go through the allocation order. I have confirmed that. I'm wondering if either the list was incorrect and he shouldn't have been on the list, which is possible. It's happened with MLS before. Or as a season-ending injury, it did not go through that. Or because he was out of contract, it didn't go through that. So we'll get the confirmation on exactly how that went down because we all love to figure out MLS rules, and sometimes they're complicated like this one. So it does not appear he went to the allocation order. But, yes, you can play 2 up top with the right combination. We'll see if Atlanta can find that if Kubo Torres sticks around, which is very possible.
Tafka says, I know we haven't seen them play yet, but Atlanta United nabbing both Dom and Torres, both have won the L-Tree kit on free transfer, is pretty incredible business. If they regain form, it could be huge for their values and low-risk expenditures. Bravo, with 3 clapping hand emojis.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I don't think there's many clubs in MLS who would get these guys to come in. They're not going to go to Vancouver without a transfer fee. Like, they get to pick where they're going to go. They've picked Atlanta. That's pretty cool. So now they got to deliver. And Atlanta hadn't had a Mexican player before Dom was signed. Now you got 2 and potentially Jonathan Gonzalez if anything happens there. It's interesting. It's interesting to see how that's going to play in a city that has a large Mexican population. I think it's going to energize that part of the fan base in a big way. It's exciting. Jurgen Damm's an exciting player. Kubo Torres, he scores the goals that we've seen him score in this league before. He's an exciting player. I'm excited to see where it can go. If you get to the point where you have the possibility, and this is where you go back to the Joseph decision. You didn't have a player, I'm assuming up until the Kubo Torres conversation started, that you wanted to replace the spot with. Now you did, so you had to make a decision. If Joseph wasn't able to come back until very late, or not at all, or not till the postseason, or you just don't know it yet enough, but he's not playing in August, he's not playing in September, you're probably going to play a good number of games in those months when the season restarts, so you need a forward. If you're not happy with what you have, he's available on a free, you go get him. And that shows, and I think anybody who questioned the ambition of the club and the ambition of trying to fix things, you just added another piece that has been a proven goal scorer in this league. Can he do it again? We'll wait and find out.
Bartimus Prime, so what does Torres signing mean for Eric Lopez's chances to bump up to the Atlanta United first team this season?
Well, that's what was so complicated about that, and this is why I've pushed back on this so much. He's not a first-team player this season. It's going to take a rule change for him to be able to play for the first team at all. And I don't know if that rule change is going to happen. It had been rumored a couple months ago, and we haven't seen it yet. Are you going to see relaxations and players moving back and forth? The flip side is, as we're seeing with USL, they're under different protocols. For somebody to come from the USL setup to the MLS setup, they've got to go through the onboarding process, which is the testing, and passing 2 tests in a 72-hour period before they can join. So you lose 3 days of training for anybody moving back and forth. I think the initial idea was that they would make it easier for players to come up and join the MLS team. I think the protocols make it harder. So it was always skeptical for me about Eric Lopez coming up to play for the first team. Now you have no need to rush it. He needs to settle. You've got time. This idea that Eric Lopez was going to come in and be the Joseph replacement, the kid's played 16 professional games in his life. Yeah. Like, the expectations are incredibly out of whack for him. 4 goals in 16 games. He is a talented young player. Paraguay thinks highly enough of him to bring him into their U23s in January and be the youngest player in the group and play some. But he's young. He's still breaking through as a pro. Coming from, Paraguay and the first division there to Atlanta United and MLS, it's a jump. Mm-hmm. It's a big jump. Let him have time. You don't have to rush it at all. He'll be with the first team next year. I don't think he plays for the first team this year. You needed a rule change for it to happen anyway. I don't think it happens.
And Nathan Pugh back in after his original comment on the 4-4-2. He was thinking big man with Adam John and then Kubo Torres there and having both of them up there. He says he misheard what your top two meant, but still boo.
In that, it can work in that, but it's all about chemistry. It is totally about the chemistry between the two. We have seen... in Atlanta, we've seen Joseph Martinez and Pitti up top, and it's worked well in a 3-5-2. We've seen Joseph and Barco as a two-man pairing up top, and it's worked. We see in Philadelphia with Shabilko and Sergio Santos, it can work. It's all about chemistry. If next year Joseph and Kubo Torres have chemistry and you can play the two of them, cool. It affects it gives you another option of what you can do. If they don't, you have to pick one. You pick one. You play Joseph. This year, you do have that option. If Adam John and Kubo Torres blend and it works well to play some version of two up top, cool. If it doesn't, you can have Kubo replace Joseph Martinez in whatever way you would have played. The thing is, now you got a blank slate because Frank wanted to play the 3-4-3. He stuck with it even without Joseph. Never really changed from it, which was a surprise for somebody who has shown a likelihood of changing the shape. He did last year, especially towards the end, a lot. Didn't do that without Joseph. Now that's off the board. So, Stephen Glass could come in and play 4-2-3-1. He could play 4-4-2. He could play 3-5-2. He could play 3-4-3. He could play 4-3-3. He could play whatever you want. So it's all about finding the right chemistry. The chemistry is the key. Don't get hung up on numbers on a sheet of paper. Chemistry is the number one thing. If you develop the chemistry, you can put them in the shape that matches the best chemistry. You've got plenty of different ways to solve that problem. But the chemistry has to be their number one. So we'll see if they get that. And if that means you can play John and Kubo Torres, if that means you could play Kubo Torres and J.J. Williams, if that means you could play Kubo Torres and Pitti Martinez up top, you got time to figure that out. I don't know when he gets here. I don't know when he can come in and start training with his team. He'll have to go through that onboarding process. That's the least of the worries once he gets to Atlanta. It's just about getting him into the country, and I don't know what his situation is currently with that.
What's the conversation going on in the queue room? Anything?
Lots of stuff. Sean Vergara says, I feel bad for John. He didn't get enough service or time to prove himself. I don't think he's done. I think he's still an option here. I just think, you get the opportunity to add another proven goal scorer in this league, you're going to take it. Kubo Torres has been more successful in Major League Soccer than Adam John. I do hope he gets an opportunity. I've liked what he's brought to the table, and I think he could still be an effective option as an alternative, a different way to play. We just got to see it. Jason Nick said, haven't seen or heard about Dom training yet either. What's his timeline? Immigration issues? Yeah, I have no idea what the timeline is. I don't even know if it's immigration as much as dealing with coronavirus implications and quarantines and all of that. So I do not know. I don't have an update on that. Let's see here. It is hard to get players in at the moment, Christopher. That is definitely the case. So, Tesco, yeah, I would assume that when Frank said something about Eric Lopez, hoping he could play for the first team, that there's at least been a conversation about that possibility of it being easier for USL guys to come up to the first team. Frank mentioned that last year, that he wished that it was easier to bring guys up to play when he had some injuries with the first team. And maybe, there's been conversation about it. Maybe he got excited about it. Maybe he said it earlier than he should have. Maybe it's just completely incorrect. I don't know. 16 pro games. I just keep coming back to that the expectation that he's going to come in and be, Joseph straight away is it's too much. He's a young player. Don't expect that. Expect him to be a young player who grows. If Eric Lopez comes in and this season plays for Atlanta United 2 and plays, the rest of the way, because I don't know what his timeline is either. Let's say he plays 8 games. Let's say he scores a couple goals, has a couple assists. Cool. Next season, he splits his time, plays Atlanta United, maybe appears in 10, 12 games, plays for Atlanta United 2, maybe starts another 10, 12 games. Between the two, scores 8 goals or so. Cool. I'm good with that. I'm not asking him next year to be a double-digit goal scorer in MLS. Give him a couple of years. Give him a year and a half at least. You get to 22, okay, then we're asking for increased production. But you give him the opportunity, you put him in the mix. You don't put a crazy expectation on him. It's not fair to Eric Lopez as a player. It's hard enough as a young player to move from one league to another. It's hard enough to move from one continent to another. It is insane to move and do all that during a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what his situation is going to be. I mean, can you imagine? I can't. If I moved tomorrow to Paraguay, and Paraguay is having issues with the virus, not to this degree, but what I know about the virus, I'm not going out and hanging out places. I'm going to be sitting wherever I live most of the time. I'm going to find a way to get groceries, and that's about it. And that's hard. And if you're a young kid and you have to do that, and hey, it's not exactly safe to go out and hang out. It's not exactly safe to go, to the park or whatever. You need to be careful. That's a lot. So give the man some time. Give him some time. Let's slow down the expectations on Eric Lopez a little bit. Let's see. Chris Ashley says the robot goal celebration has not been mentioned, and it is one of Kubo's greatest assets he brings to the ATL. It's a good one. It is a good one. I thought he did a backflip at some point, too. I might be wrong. I might be mixing him up with somebody. But the robot one, yes, I am in. I would like to see a Kubo robot in Game 1. I'd love to see him get a goal.
Yeah, I just think of robot, I think of Peter Crouch.
Yeah, but you don't. Kubo Torres did it, too.
Okay. Like I said, I've never seen the robot celebration from Kubo Torres. It's like bringing the robot.
Well, you missed it.
Yes.
Peter Crouch does not own the robot celebration.
His is just taller and lankier.
He just played in England, so everybody remembers it. We don't remember MLS things. We remember people who play in England. That's what it is. So you're a Euro snob, John. We found it out today.
Uh-huh.
We figured it out.
Yep, I'm a Euro snob.
You are the Euro snob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sean Vergara says, does this mean Barco is on the sale block? I don't think he was ever not. I don't know if he's on the block, but you got people who are interested, and he could go in this window. Wouldn't surprise me if he did. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. I don't know what this window is going to be. I think we're already seeing it's busy at the moment. You've got Dom coming in. You've got Torres coming in. You've got Lopez coming into the twos. You're going to see other things, I would think, because there's interest in Barco. There could be interest in other players. I think worldwide this is going to be a crazy window. Crazy window. So could that open up a possibility for Barco? Yes. I do think there is still an expectation to make a profit on that move. You shouldn't take a loss on that because everything has changed due to the pandemic. I think going into it, Barco was a $30 million player. That was what you were looking for. If you get 25 now, is that okay? If the player wants the move, that's a big part of this too. I don't think you're going to stand in his way, but you've got to get a return on it. That's still, it's good business. So you've got to figure that out. Somebody comes with that kind of check, done. Chris Ashley says OSG Euro Snob now. That's you.
That's the new Twitter handle.
OSG _Euro Snob. I've not seen Kubo Torres do the robot, but I've seen Peter Crouch do it.
Uh-huh. And now I'm looking at Kubo Torres explaining his robot celebration in an interview that he did with EA Sports when he was with Chivas USA.
Mm-hmm.
Can we please have a naughty option somewhere in the chain?
We
needed that last night with Peter Vermes so desperately.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a Euro Snob shirt for you for sure.
Put that in the Teespring store.
Alex Bassine says, guys, if we have 3 Erics on the field simultaneously, will the bins implode? Yes.
It's Joker's Wild. It's Eric, and a triple.
It'll be confusing. At least you've got. God, now I got to go look at Lopez. Is Lopez a CK Eric? I don't think so.
I think he's a K. He's an IK.
Oh, God, we got Erics with 3 different spellings.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow, I forgot about that. So we've got a CK, we've got a K, and we've got a C.
Uh-huh.
Craziness.
Yes.
Okay. Every possible. We need an Eric with a Q. We need to get Eric Zavaleta now.
Or Eric Williamson.
Well, that's a YK. That's a whole different one. That's another one. So, yeah, we could get both of them and just have every different spelling of Eric we possibly could.
It's the Atlanta Erics.
No, it's not.
Eric Atlanta.
No, it's not.
I'm still looking at the Cubo Torres celebration that has been accurately duplicated in his days with Chivas.
Okay.
With EA Sports. I'm learning about Cubo Torres. His robot is a lot faster than Peter Crouch's. Yeah, he says it's a bit faster. In Mexico, sometimes you have the opportunity to walk or jog on the pitch, and so his robot is faster than Peter Crouch's.
Who did I mysteriously stop talking about? Christopher Abel? I'm not sure. We'll come back to that. Good point about Ricky Ricardo, or from Ricky Ricardo here. Not sure if this is true for Kubo, but every Mexican player looking to make it back to the national team should just come to Atlanta.
Cool.
Tata does know this place pretty well.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It'll be interesting. Dom is probably closer to that than Kubo would be. There's a lot more competition and less spots for Kubo. There's that guy out in Los Angeles that still needs to get going for the Galaxy, and there's that guy playing in England that John probably knows a lot about because he's a Euro snob.
Yes, I'm a Euro snob.
Yes. You want
Hashtag Euro snob.
Yes. You want to tell us about the Mexican forward playing in England?
Well, who?
You're the Euro snob, John.
Yeah, but who are we talking about?
You don't know Mexican forwards playing in England?
I'm sure I do once you name it.
Plays for a club that is probably called Lobos in Mexico.
Oh, Jimenez, yeah. Took me a second.
Well, let me explain something to you 3 cartoon characters.
Ay, Dios mío.
I had a fantasy team this year. He was actually pretty good for me.
And you still didn't get him. Yeah, we need an Eric with an A. A-R-I-K. That's a good one, Ricky.
Yeah.
All right.
Eric Englert says, with Eric with a C, I, for one, is a huge fan of filling the team with Erics.
Eric FC. All the Erics.
See, there you go. It's Eric FC.
Yeah.
That's who we are now.
No, it's
that's
not.
who Atlanta United is right now. It's Eric FC.
No. We just
or
need,
FC Eric.
We just need a podcast with all of the Erics talking about their names.
Eric's down here.
Something like that. Christopher Abel's now trashing me for not staying on the Portland bandwagon. No, Portland still. I'm a fan of Portland. I do like Portland. I think they can win this tournament. Are you talking about me, John? Slow down.
I know, but I'm agreeing.
Don't agree with me on this. I'm talking to Christopher Abel. He's calling me out.
Right.
I gotta respond. I don't need you backing me up.
Go for it then. I'm just going to sit here and look at juice box numbers for the SPFL.
I think Portland is going to beat New York City. And then Portland and Philadelphia. Yes, I think the run-ins for Portland there. I think Philadelphia is a better team. Philadelphia has advanced further in the tournament. That's where I have fallen with this. I do like Portland, though, and I love Giovanni Savarese as a manager, and he will cut you if he needs to. But I think Philly has gained the most in this tournament. And Portland's still dangerous. I just think Philly will be better and knock them out. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to shut it down on the audio portion. So for those of you who listen to the podcast, we're going to bid you farewell. We are going to remain live on Twitch for a little while. So if you're listening live and you want to come over to Twitch and hang out in the party room, go ahead. It's twitch.tv/soccerdown here. We'll take a few questions there. We've got a lot of questions about Joseph, a lot of questions about Cubo Torres, a lot of questions about rosters and shapes and all those kinds of things. So that'll be on Twitch. We will have a power hour tomorrow morning to get caught up on everything and to recap tonight's game with Orlando and LAFC. What are the numbers on Orlando and LAFC?
Efforting. So now that I was staring at the SPFL numbers since you didn't want me to help them back you up or anything.
We're not talking about the Scottish betting numbers, John.
Orlando City in the aggregate from our friends at Odds Portal is at plus 304. LAFC is minus 137. Your draw is at plus 330.
That Orlando number's tempting, but I don't think they can quite get there. I think it'll be a good match, though. And they could pull the upset. They could. But I don't think they will. I think LAFC finds a way through tonight. So here's the deal. If you're listening on the audio portion, come over to Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. We're going to stick around for just a little bit. And we will be back in the morning with a power hour, 10 o'clock. We'll get caught up on everything that happens overnight and any other moves that happen today, any other rumors, all the craziness. So thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening live on the app and on the website. We'll be hanging out on Twitch for a little while, and we'll be back with you guys for audio tomorrow. Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.